Coming up on Mountain News this morning, some areas hit by the July 2022 flood are still looking for ways to recover. And the Belfry community is mourning the loss of a firefighter who died in the line of duty.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Madison Carmouche. We're just past that 5:30 mark this Wednesday morning, and it felt a little warmer this morning when I stepped outside, so hopefully a warmer day is ahead of us. Let's send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast.
Minus a few locations right now, Madison. We're all in the 50s. Well, hey, it's a heat wave right now in Hazard. We're up 2 degrees in the last hour. It is 50, a little low cloud and fog action trying to develop. But hey, we'll take this at this point because nobody's reporting any visibility lower than 7 miles across eastern and southern Kentucky. Temperature-wise, again, we're back up to 50. It's 49 at Irvin. 44, typically cooler, not only at Clintwood, but 47 at Grundy, 51 Ashland, and we match that down your way at Middlesboro. And like Madison said, we are running warmer when you look at where we were in the 24-hour comparative this time yesterday morning to where we are right now. As promised, the high clouds streamed across the region on the overnight period. We're going to get into this area here as we head through the next several hours, which means a mostly sunny day. And yes, seasonably warm. Average is lower 80s, and we're forecasting 85. More about your ARH First Alert 7-day forecasts coming up in this half hour. Madison?
All right, Tim, thank you. A grand jury will soon consider the case against a man accused of shooting a man and killing a dog in Laurel County. Joseph Collett appeared in court yesterday on several charges in connection to the August 31st shooting. He is accused of firing a gun inside a home, hitting a man, and narrowly missing a 4-year-old child. Collett is scheduled to be back in court September 20th. One person has been detained following a deadly Wayne County shooting. The shooting happened yesterday in the area of Highway 766. According to Wayne County Emergency Management, one person was killed in the shooting. Officials searched in the woods near the scene before eventually finding a suspect. Again, that person has now been detained. We will continue to follow this story and bring you updates as we learn more. One person is dead following a crash between a motorcycle and a vehicle in Laurel County. London police responded to the crash just after 8 in the evening on Monday. 84-year-old Lowell Carter was driving a 2020 Can-Am Ryker when it collided with a vehicle on South Main Street and Armory Street. Carter was taken to a local hospital where he later died from injuries sustained in the crash. A man has pleaded guilty in a 2020 Clay County murder case. Police believe Jeremy Smith assaulted Russell Knuckles, who later died from his injuries in March 2020. Court officials say Smith pleaded guilty to an amended charge of manslaughter before his trial was set to begin. The plea agreement calls for 18 years in prison. A Clay County woman is facing charges after she reportedly ran a sheriff's deputy off the road. It happened Sunday on Highway 421. Police say Angela Miller swerved into the oncoming lane, which caused the deputy to leave the roadway. When police pulled her over, Miller told police she admitted to running the deputy off the road. Miller also told police she had been taking controlled substances. She was taken to the Clay County Detention Center. The Louisville police released the body cam footage from a police chase and shooting at a Walmart on August 28th. The video shows the entire chase, and we want to warn you, it is disturbing. It starts at the crash site where Randall Allen jumped out of the car and ran into the Walmart. Officer Brandon Brinkley goes inside to find him. It does not take long to find Allen, and that's when you can see him running out the front door. This is when police say Allen tried hopping inside of a woman's van in the pharmacy drive-thru. When Allen did not answer police commands to surrender, Brinkley fired his weapon.
Get out of the car! 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 Get out, man! Get out! Get out of the car now! Hands up!
After backup arrives, officers are able to drag Allen out of the car and get him into custody. He spent several days at the hospital recovering after he was shot. He was discharged last week and taken to jail. Allen is facing charges of resisting arrest, unlawful imprisonment, and wanton endangerment. Officials in one Floyd County city are continuing to implement ways to recover from the July 2022 flood. WYMT's RJ Johnson shares some of the projects in progress.
After flooding damaged the city of Wayland in 2022, Mayor Jerry Foltz has been working to find ways to bounce back.
The process of rebuilding started the day the waters went out. That was a challenge. We're in a low-lying area, so the sediment left back by the flooding was nearly overwhelming.
As several people decided to stay and rebuild, he says they are working through several projects to decrease the impact flooding could have in the future.
If we can't prevent it, then how do we at least lessen the chances of flooding in Wayland? So some drainage projects that we're doing that will help in that regard. We're looking at establishing a siren system, a warning system. The flooding in 22 occurred like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was unaware till a neighbor called.
He says they are also looking at installing flop gates in the city.
When Wayland floods, typically, we're talking about backwater that comes back through the drains that are meant to take water out. But as the streams, the elevation of the streams, as they get higher, the water begins to flow back through those drains. We're putting flop gates on those things. It's kind of like a heart valve where the water will go out, and then when the pressure gets certain height on the other side in the stream, those flop gates will actually shut down and prevent the water from coming back.
Foltz says those continuing to rebuild and put new businesses in town shows there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
That gives me hope. That gives me hope. So I feel a sense that we want to stay. We've needed assistance. We're doing all that we can as a small city to stay alive and to stay here and do the things that we can do. But there are things that we have to look to others to help with.
To ensure future generations can enjoy the city. In Wayland, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Foltz says they have been working with several companies such as CSX, FEMA, and the Corps of Engineers. Hazard and Perry County officials gathered yesterday evening to discuss strategic planning. The Kentucky League of Cities led the meeting that allowed leaders to share ideas for growth. The input at last night's meeting will contribute to the community's future strategic plan. Development Manager Tad Long says it is important for the plan to be developed by those who live in the community.
We believe it's important that any plan that is created that leads to action should be based upon the values of the community. It's got to come from the community to be successful.
Long says moving forward from last night's meeting, they will build the strategic plan based on the key topics discussed that included economic development, housing, and child care, to name a few. A group of Hazard Independent High School students are being the change they want to see. The group spoke during the Perry County Fiscal Court meeting about more funding for the Kentucky River Regional Animal Shelter. Two of the students are the founders of the school's Purrs and Paws Club. The club volunteers and advocates for the animal shelter.
We feel like a lot of people preach a lot about how animals need to be taken care of and, this, that, whatever, but I feel like nobody ever, goes through, nobody ever actually visits the animal shelter. No one ever walks those dogs and cleans out their kennels, so I feel like if we're not going to do it, who is?
Perry County Judge Executive Scott Alexander says it is exciting to see young people at fiscal court meetings asking for the changes they want to see in their community. One Pike County Fire Department is mourning the loss of one of its own after a line-of-duty death last week. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has a look at the fallen firefighter's legacy.
And that's something that we all strive for, to make sure that everybody goes home. That's something that didn't happen Wednesday night. For the first time in Belfry Fire Department's history.
Daryl Helton was a dedicated firefighter for nearly 15 years, passionately serving his Belfry community until his death last week.
Daryl lost his life providing for his community and taking care of his community. That's a legacy that'll last and go on forever.
Helton collapsed on the line of duty while on a mutual aid call with neighboring departments, taking his final breaths while giving back to the people he promised to protect.
And that's the heart that we all urge to have. And truly, he displayed that in everything that he did.
Named the department's 2023 Firefighter of the Year, the father, friend, and first responder is remembered for his sense of humor, sense of service, and for the lessons he passed down to the next generation.
That's somebody that goes above and beyond and exemplifies what it is to be more than just your average firefighter and go take that extra step.
With those who love him saying Big D is leaving behind a big legacy.
Hopefully going forward, our younger firefighters and those that are coming on in the future will be able to see that that's what we're all about, is taking care of our community, whatever it takes.
In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Helton's funeral service was yesterday at Belfry High School, with departments from across the area pouring in to pay respects to the fallen firefighter. Coming up, a more than 150-year-old company is looking to change its name.
And waking up on this Wednesday morning, not as cool in a lot of locations. A few of us are. Do we get a day filled with sunshine again? That would be nice, right? We'll let you know. Your ERH First Alert 7-day forecast is coming up right after this.